Now, Chris Moore is covering the Main Street March through Paris for us. He joins me now. Chris, what's the latest?
We're at Montparnasse, which is in the south of the French capital, and this CGT-led protest will shortly head off on a route to Place d'Italie. As you said, a couple of weeks ago, they got what they claimed was 500,000 people out onto the streets of France. They'll be hoping for something similar this time round. We've got transport workers, energy workers, even print workers taking part today. The reason being that it really is crunch time, both for Emmanuel Macron's reforms and for those opposed to them. As you said, Jean-Luc Mélenchon of the left-wing France Unbowed movement has emerged really as the major voice of parliamentary opposition to all of this. He's leading his supporters out on the streets of Paris on Saturday in a bid really to keep up the pressure on Emmanuel Macron. If you look at how public opinion is responding to all of this, it really bears out all of the contradictions and ironies of the situation, i.e. polls have consistently showed that a majority of the French public believe that economic reform is necessary to tackle unemployment, to bring about long-needed growth. But at the same time, a majority of the French population is also opposed to the specific reforms that Emmanuel Macron is putting in place.
It looks like, though, Chris, protesters can't stop these executive orders of Macron's.
Macron's been honest from the start throughout his campaign. He said that he was intent on pushing these reforms through by executive orders, to use the US comparison. The problem for Macron is that in the past, numerous attempts to introduce the kind of liberal reforms who proponents say are needed to attack, for example, long-term unemployment, to bring about growth, have fallen by the wayside in the face of persistent opposition on the streets. That's been the case for a series of French governments. Most recently, we had François Hollande, who was actually elected on a relatively left-wing platform, but in the end went for the kind of reforms that Macron wants to go further on, and in the end was forced to back down in the wake of opposition on the streets. Now, Emmanuel Macron is absolutely determined not to fall into the same trap. And what's more, he feels that this time round the conditions really are aligned for things to turn out differently. He's got a huge majority in Parliament, which came off the back of a convincing win in the presidential election. He's also, after consultation over the summer, got the support of a significant number of the trades unions, and he's determined to be the president who succeeds where others have failed, but never underestimate the French street.